Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Ironbark Podcast, and I am your host, Epion, and today I ain't talking about shit. I ain't got shit to talk about. I ain't got shit. Nothing. Zilch. Nada. Absolutely nothing. Buckus. Zero. Zilch. Nata. I'm lying. I'm a complete and total liar. I do have some stuff to talk about. Nothing quite interesting. Just some ideas. I'm probably just going to start freeballing it at some point. We'll see how that goes. Where do we leave off? Okay. We'll go as far back as December 9th. On December 9th, you know what it was? Do you know what day it was? I bet you fucking don't, because I didn't until I looked it up. And guess what? It's National Llama Day. It's a llama, it's a llama, it's a llama, it's a llama, National Llama Day. It's National Llama Day. Llamas are pretty cool. You know, you go down south to like Peru and stuff, and they got them in the hills and the mountains, and mountain lions try to eat them, and they're pretty powerful when you watch the like mountain lions try to attack them, and they like whip them off and stuff like that. It's quite interesting if you're into that sort of stuff. I recommend giving that a little YouTube. Grok, the AI on the X platform, formerly known as Twitter, the Grok AI, aka XAI's like AI assistant, I suppose. It can now 100% make pictures, lifelike-ish pictures of a dodo bird. This, for the longest time, was my litmus test onto seeing if Grok could make adequate pictures of things based off of small descriptions, and it never quite knew what a dodo bird was. It knew what a bird was, and it created all kinds of crafty-looking animals that were birds, but definitely not a dodo bird. But Grok can now finally make a dodo bird. We have brought it back from digital extinction. It's a beautiful bird. It's got beautiful plumage, lots of feathers, the beak very sharp. Moving on, December 10th. December 10th was actually a pretty cool day. International, that means multinational, around the globe, Animal Rights Day. And what does that mean? That can mean for pets, that can mean for wildlife. And I did a little post. This post was kind of, I call it the I am the media now edition. So these days have their own meaning and stuff like that, but I like to take it and twist it and rearrange it and put out my own narratives about it and my own propaganda or my own rhetoric behind it. But I think it's good. I never mean for it to be, I never use it for evil. We'll put it that way. But I'm not infallible. And sometimes I could get things wrong. So if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments down below. Anyway, continuing on. My sentiments, if you hunt, hunt with honor. People like to draw this distinction between us, nature, and like wildlife and animals. And I say, nay. No, we are not. We are actually, well, we are, but we are not. We are we're integrated into this ecosystem known as Earth, the pale blue dot. We share this planet. We are intertwined into this system. We are predators. In some instances, we are also prey. Now, we've seemed to have been able to remove ourselves from this dynamic safely, but also we still have some ability to interact with it. And I don't condemn hunting. I think it has its role, plays its part, especially if there's an imbalance in an ecosystem where there's an abundance of one animal and not of another. Though this could be, you know, we don't have to rely on hunting. We could introduce additional predators or try to help those numbers get up. But I digress. I'm not going to go down that road because it's too convoluted and you have to get too much data, and I don't have it. Another thing I said is if you see a small critter on a roadway, don't intentionally run them over. It's mean. It's cruel. You don't have to do that. Why you do that? It's mean. Don't do it. I also kind of I kind of stepped on the tippy toes of something, and it actually went into like a pretty big discussion in the comments section. This is on X. And I said, I also think we should have a commission or oversight agency to make standards for specific species in zoos. How big their enclosures should be, how much enrichment their enclosure should have, and how it should closely replicate their own habitats. Now, I'm not against zoos. They play their role in conservation and research, and they do help wildlife, and they do help animals, and they do help us learn more about them and their behaviors and how, like, how we can safely interact with them, that type of sort of stuff, and live in like harmony. But sometimes they have animals that definitely don't do well in zoos, and sometimes their habitat is not big enough, especially with like the large predators that have hundreds if not thousands of kilometers of range or habitat that they have in the wild, and then you're confining them to like 300 feet by 300 feet. It doesn't seem proper. It doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem very couth, if you will. And I believe, you look at the great apes, they always seem sad and depressed. It seems like maybe they should have bigger dynamics, like larger enclosures. I don't know what the enrichment should look like, but they never seem happy. But then you look at giraffes, they always seem happy. You look at any sort of like bovine, you look at any sort of like a cervid, like anything that's like an elk, a moose, or deer, as long as they have like big open areas to like get running speed, they seem like they're pretty happy most of the time, that they don't have to deal with predators and all that kind of sort of thing. So, there's certain species that are successful in zoos and certain ones that are not. And I like to kind of look at maybe a more in-depth dive into space. And I know a lot of zoos, they've existed for a long time, so the space they have to work with is very limited to where they're located. And I guess that would mean having to relocate them to like the outskirts of a city and giving them lots of acreage, and then having them go more towards a sanctuary model. I get into all this into the comments on this post, but I'm going to digress greatly because I could go on for days and days and days. And I got into it in the comments section, and it wasn't a bad back and forth. It was kind of like an exchange of ideas. And kind of just sort of clarifying my points. But the people that work there are not cruel. They're not inhumane. They do what they do because they love animals, they love wildlife, and they want to help. And I feel like there was a couple people that worked in zoos that kind of commented there, and they were kind of trying to defend themselves or make sure that I wasn't going after them. And I had to reassure them that no, that's not the point of this post. I've interviewed people on this very podcast, if you've been listening to a while, and I'm not like that. So December 11th, International Mountain Day. I love the mountains. I love the mountains. I'm the mountain guy. He loves the mountains. He's always born in a mountain, raised in a cave. Trucking and fucking as I spent most of his days. I don't truck, but anyway, that's just how the rhyme goes. I don't even know where that's from. I just took a picture. It's from like a lookout point in Banff where you can look down on the whole town, and it's in like a valley, so it's surrounded by mountains, so you see all the mountains in the background. And there's some bighorn sheep kind of like in the foreground there chilling out. They like to chill out there. That's like a common spot. People usually see them. Kind of a cool picture. Kind of a cool spot to go visit. Not gonna lie. Banff, it's a beautiful town. It's a small town. It's a small mountain town. Very busy. It's very busy. A lot of tourists. Very touristy. It's not very... It might seem like the great outdoors, but it quite isn't. It not very much indeed. But I recommend checking it out once in your life at least. Try to go like in a down part of the season. What did I do here? I just had I just posted like a random photo I took. I call it Moon and Mountains. Mountains and Moon. Loved how the moonlight hit the river. And it's a pretty cool photo of the moonlight reflecting on the river there. I like that photo. It's not the best photo, but I like it. It's got soul, but it's not a soldier. Reposted, let's see, on December 13th. It was National Horse Day, and everyone loves horses. So this was another like I Am the Media Now edition. And mine was basically advocating in this post for, protecting the feral and wild horses, that they aren't a nuisance. They actually provide something for the ecosystem. They're good. And I wanted to thank all the people who care for these feral, abandoned animals. Sometimes they're feral and abandoned. Sometimes they're just wild. Most of the time they're, they're feral. So they'll take them in. They'll make sure their hooves are good. They'll make sure, they don't have like ticks and stuff. They'll make sure their hair is good, all that kind of stuff. So, bless those people's souls, like bless those people's hearts. They're doing like, for people that spend time and money on that just because they can, and just because they feel like they want to just do something good for like an animal, like, I don't know, like that's super fucking cool. So I gave them a big shout out. There's tons of little organizations and stuff that do that. December 14th, it was Monkey Day. it was monkey day. Everybody was monkeying around. Like, I don't know. There's lots of, so this is just a spread like awareness on monkeys. Obviously, there's some species that are more threatened than others. Generally not overall threatened though. They're pretty common. My favorites are the Japanese, I think it's called pronounced marquette. It's a snow monkey. And I kind of mentioned this in my post. Oftentimes I think about what would life be like if this animal had migrated or, sort of at some point in the evolutionary expanse made its way to like North America. Let's say it wasn't just restricted to Japan. It somehow was able at some point to naturally occur in North America. Wouldn't it be cool if like North America, like the northern part of North America had monkeys, like snow monkeys, like living in the mountains and stuff? I think it'd be cool. I think about it and I'm like, I kind of wish the Rocky Mountains in Canada and northern United States had monkeys. Little post here, didn't do too well. Let your heart guide you, it whispers, so listen closely. And I posted a image from the movie The Land Before Time. It's of a tree star. I don't know, for whatever reason, I was feeling sentimental and nostalgic, and I posted that. And I thought, tree stars and nature, they go quite well together. And I thought the sentiment was good. And then it brings me to today. And today is a very special day. It's a very special day indeed. It's a full moon alert. We had a full moon this morning at 2 a.m. and we got the little bits of it this evening. If you look outside, it's very dark. You can see a big, beautiful moon. It's the beautiful moon. So as winter sets in the northern hemisphere, the full moon is called the cold moon. We got the cold moon, full moon on December 15th this year. Ladies and gentlemen, please go take a look at it. Take some videos, take some pictures. It's big, bad, and beautiful. And then for Wildlife Wednesday, for those who've been following me for a while, this is the cheekiest of the cheekiest re-uploads. But the way Twitter or X is that your old videos will get basically locked behind antiquity and they will not be able to be seen. And the reason they won't be able to be seen is because they don't want people data scraping a bunch of old data from the website. So what that means is everything that is old can be new again. And especially if I have a lot of new followers that haven't seen me back when I originally posted this and never scrolled through my stuff, it's all brand new to them. I benefit from this, but I don't like it as a feature on the platform. I wish you could just see the entire libraries of people's content. It's not how this works. It's a very here today, gone tomorrow platform, unfortunately. And I wish it wasn't, because you'd be able to actually get a lot of creators from other platforms instead of it being very unique, like sort of like a platform interaction. People from YouTube, people from Twitch, it's almost like not translatable over here because they don't have like that like translatable skills sets, like the features, the way they work. It's not like a plug and play type of thing. So that's about it. There was one article I wanted to talk about. There was one article. Let's see. This was in Conservation Letters. Is this what it's from? I can't remember. This looks like the paper. Threatened mammals with alien populations, distribution, causes, and conservation. So a journal. So this is Conservation Letters, a journal of the Society of Conservation Biology. Let's see. It seems like it was Lisa Tedici, Bernard Lenzner, Anna Sheltler, Dino Biancolanini, Franz Essi, and Carlo Rondinini. Sorry if I butchered all your names, and I know I did, and I know none of you are listening to this podcast. Well, I don't actually know that, but if you are, I apologize. So I'm going to summarize this into my own words, not to bore the crap out of you guys, because apparently when I just read them, it's very boring. It's very boring indeed, but I feel like when I read them, it's very informational as well. Essentially, what this study is dictating is that many of the invasive species, or at least a significant portion of them, are actually threatened into where they originate from, or endangered. Kind of an interesting idea, right? They get introduced to somewhere else, they're very successful, start running amok on the native species there, but then the places they originated from, they're now suddenly threatened or endangered. So what does that mean? So let's say we cull out the invasive species. Let's say it's like a python or something. And then it's like, yay, we got rid of all the pythons. And then you go back to where they came from. You go look at that area and you're like, oh, there's barely any pythons here. Uh-oh. Now it's endangered. Now it's nowhere in the world. Kind of a weird take, how that works out. I wonder like what the bigger play of that is at large, like is that sort of like a natural way of the world? Like animals just move around, they push out one, they get pushed out of another, and it's just sort of like this like migration of species, and everywhere is just trying to get to somewhere else as the world changes. Or they go extinct, like dinosaurs and stuff. So they identified 36 threatened mammals with alien populations out of the 230 globally established alien mammals. And by alien, they mean like invasive. The proportion of, I'm not going to read all this. It's going to be too more. But that's an interesting number, right? Like 36 out of 230. It's not a bad number. That's pretty high. And Canada's apparently doing very poorly with it. Apparently Canada has the biggest distribution. Interesting. It's an interesting study. There's lots of charts and data to support what they're claiming. Maybe I should read the abstract. I don't know. Will that bore you guys? Will that bore you? I'm going to start. Many alien species are safe in their native ranges, but some are threatened. This creates a conundrum for conservation and invasion science. We analyze the distributions, introduction pathways, threats, and conservation strategies of threatened mammals with alien populations globally. We reassess their hypothetical IUNC red list category, including the alien part of the range. Among 230 alien mammals, 36 are threatened in their native range. Ba-da-da-da. They're either critically endangered, around 17% endangered, 25% are vulnerable, 58%. Did that make it more entertaining? So of the 36, I don't know why they couldn't just give me a number. Like, am I supposed to math out what 17% of 36 is to find out how many are critically endangered and how much 25% is of 36 to find out how many are endangered? Listen, people, if you're going to write a fucking abstract, you're smart enough to make a paper, you're smart enough to know dumbasses like me are going to read it and want to fucking put in the numbers, okay? And then the vulnerable was 58%. These species were mainly introduced for hunting and exchanged within Asia, with introduction ranges concentrated in southeastern Asia and eastern Australia. They face multiple threats, particularly from biological resource use. Conservation strategies are mainly related to species management, including alien populations. In the assessments, reduces extinction risks of 22% of the species. Blah 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 blah. Although some of these alien populations may have conservation value. What does that mean? May have conservation value. Are there species with no value? Anyway, conservation managers should carefully consider them on a case-by-case basis to avoid negative impacts on That's a weird statement at the end there. I don't know what the fuck they mean by that. Although some of these alien populations may have conservation value. Oh, okay. So what they're saying is, even though they're invasive, they actually bring something. So like the horses I was talking about. They're feral. They're kind of, abandoned, let go, escapees and descendants of thereof. They're not, traditionally, quote unquote, wild. But they do have conservation value. There's animals that prey on them and feast on them, and there's animals that, and the way they poop and stuff, and feed the grass is what they're poop and stuff like that. It's good for the grass. Conservation managers should carefully consider them on a case-by-case basis to avoid negative impacts on biodiversity. Basically, what it's kind of saying is like, just because it's invasive doesn't necessarily mean eradicate it. And I agree with that. I agree with it. Once it's there, it's kind of like, well, it's its home now, kind of. In some cases, not so much. We got this beetle that's just like killing all the trees, and that thing's got to go. That thing's a problem. It's a problem. It's really got to go. What's that? Dutch elm disease? These things are out of control. Yeah, that's an interesting study. And I forget what like really made me interested in this before. There was a premise behind it. The premise was, it's a conservation paradox. It's a conservation paradox. Invasive species are often thought of as threatened in their native ranges. It's a paradox. It's a paradox rift. Anyway, that comes from the University of Vienna. Very nice. Very good. Very good conservation talk. It's beautiful. It's the best, I would say, probably. It's December. Aren't the bighorns going in a rut? Shouldn't I be getting videos of that? Why am I dropping the ball? I'm sorry for letting y'all down. I gotta watch these headbutters headbutt. I gotta watch them get into the dirt, into the rut, into the smashy. What can I say? I don't know. Growth seems to be stunted on the X platform. I'm not going anywhere fast. You're better off posting about little one-liners and a bunch of annoying bullshit to go anywhere. You post a video, you get shit on. There's a lot of creator envy. They don't want to like your things. They don't want to put you up. They only want you to like their things. They're the main character. That's the problem. Everyone has main character syndrome. Some people call it latent narcissism. Perhaps. I think everyone's here to be a creator. But the only way you make money on the platform is from other verified accounts liking and participating in your stuff. And if you're verified, that pretty much means you are an aspiring content creator. So imagine YouTube, but only the YouTubers watched each other's stuff and commented and liked each other's stuff, and there was no like general audience. That is what X is. And everyone's like, it's community, it's social networking, it's this and that. It's like, everybody literally wants to be a YouTuber on here without making YouTube videos. They want to be someone who's like, there are some people that make good videos, but like generally it's like, oh yeah, I like my stuff because I write 3 words and I put up a picture I stole from the internet and I'm witty and funny and ha ha ha. It's like, no, you're neither of those things. You're unemployed and annoying. Like, you're just on here all the time and you're able to charm and manipulate your way into getting a following, and it's not the same thing. It's a big pyramid scheme at its core. This is the thing, like my best some of my best followers or supporters are definitely verified, but the ones that aren't trying to be content creators and they want absolutely nothing like in return for, like, I feel like with content creators, there's a mutual respect and you share that back and forth. And it's like, okay, I like your stuff. You like my stuff. You're kind of funny. You're kind of witty. You're kind of, yeah, okay. But when it comes to non-verifieds, they have no skin in the game. They have no skin. If they're liking your stuff and they're commenting on your stuff, it's because they purely enjoy it. They're the real enjoyers. They're the real audience. There's no, they want anything on the backhand. You know what I mean? It's not like, well, I liked your stuff. I want you to like my stuff, or I want you to share my stuff, or, come into my space, or whatever this is. These people have nothing on like their end that they want support in. So I don't know. I love you guys. You unverified guys, like, you're the G's. Like, I know it doesn't generate revenue on the platform anymore. I don't care. That's the only thing people see as value on here anymore. Whatever, fuck them. I enjoy being heard. I enjoy my stuff being watched. I enjoy my stuff being enjoyed. Even if that doesn't result in dollar values, I'd rather just be enjoyed. Purely. Honestly, like, not getting paid, and when I feel like maybe my content requires more effort, time, skill, editing, production than other people's like 3-word sentences of like engagement bait and circle farming, where they're just all kind of like, exchanging engagement with each other. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not getting anything. Like, this kind of sucks. And now it's like, my biggest gripe is I need 2,000 verified followers. So basically, I need 2,000 other content creators. Those verified accounts aren't like legit, like people who just enjoy the platform for the most part. They're not like consumers. They're creators. I have to convince upwards of 2,000 creators. I think I have like 500 verified followers already. So I only need 1,500 more. But it's like, to sell subscriptions, you need to have verified accounts follow you. That's the other thing that blows my mind, is that I said this I commented on on a post, and I was like, if you want to see the true self of many of these people in spaces who are generally like unemployed people, and I suspect to be like substance abusers and that kind of sort of thing, I was like, suggest to them in a post, like just suggest to them in a space if you're talking with them, and you'll see a demon come out of them. You'll see a demon. They'll rage. Suggest that criminal record checks be mandatory for monetization on X. They flip out. And it's like, well, why are you flipping out? Why is that? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, what's this person have that he doesn't want disclosed, or knows that will stop him from getting paid? It's like, and that's kind of a touchy subject, right? It's like, should that be private or not? And it's like, a lot of people are subscribing to people who they have no idea who they are, and they're giving them money. And you don't know what that money is being used for off platform. Keep that in mind. You don't know who the fuck these people are, especially if they're anonymous, especially if they don't use their face, especially if it's not the real account. But you get a sense of who they are based off sort of like the slang, the lingo, the derogatory terms they use. Like, some of them are very vulgar, and it's kind of like they come from like a very different walk of life, I would say. Like almost like an underbelly type of thing. And I think people just kind of chop it up as, oh, this guy's funny, like, haha, he's like this and that. It's like, I don't know about that. I don't know. And it's like, and then when you suggest like, oh, criminal record, they like flip out. It's like, okay, well, that's weird to flip out about, instead of just having like a non-emotional response, and being like, oh yeah, like I disagree with that because I believe in like civil liberties and civil like privacy, and we shouldn't need to necessarily have that be public if it's not public record or this and that. So my whole thing is just like a PSA. It's like, be cautious of who you decide to support on this platform, and not only who you decide to support, but who you decide to affiliate yourself with. You never know. And there's people on here sharing pictures of their kids, their families, etc., etc. And people are acting like they trust these people, and it seems like they do, and they share personal information with one another and pictures and this and that. But what the fuck do they do off platform? What are they doing with those? Are they involved in like identity theft? Like all these different things. Like, you don't know. And a lot of these people appear to have kind of like scammy mentalities, where they're like, how can I do the minimum amount of effort? How can I manipulate the most amount of people to gain the most amount of money? And they're just like money hungry, and they're just like, it's basically conniving in a way. And it's like, you trust these people? You're trusting these like MLM minded people who are just like methodic in this way, who don't actually have like any sort of like brand of content. It's just like platform manipulation, analytics, and this and that and the other. And it's like, they don't stand for like, there's some good people, don't get me wrong. There's lots of good people. There's people that do have like branding and stuff. They do like homesteading and stuff like this. They do like comedy stuff. They do like singing. There's tons of good people. But there's people that are just like obscurely bland, and they're just like, I make no content and this and that and this, and it's like, okay, like, where's the substance, and why are they so popular with no substance? And then you just kind of follow it, and then you're like, oh, okay. And then you get the engagement groups in the communities, and there's certain communities that always seem to be ahead of like the enforcement. So just recently this week, a lot of communities were shut down because they were like, basically platform manipulation communities where it's like follow me, follow back, this type of sort of thing. And you'll notice like a couple weeks ago, people put into like their thing because they got a heads up like, oh, this community is no longer doing this. Anyone who posts follow me, follow back will be banned immediately, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, how? So this community was doing this. They got a heads up that they're going to start enforcing it soon. So they got all the benefits from behaving that way. But then before they could get the repercussions, they bowed out. And that's sort of like the pattern of behavior with a lot of some of these content creators on the platform. And I wouldn't even call them content creators. They're like content manipulators, platform manipulators. But the thing is, the ties run deep. And when the money's good, and everyone's getting their bag. So no one's going to really be snitching on anybody. I'm not even naming names. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want to piss anybody off, but I'm telling you, I'm making it a record. It's on here. The realities. And I love the X platform, and there will always be bad actors, unfortunately. But that's what makes the dynamics good. And that's what makes the dynamics, that little bit controversial. And it makes them kind of like, you know, it makes drama. And it's like, I don't even know if the drama is real, you know, like, are they just doing it for like clicks and stuff as well? Anyway, folks, that's enough. That's enough bitching and ranting and complaining and being a fucking baby. Anyway, thank you all for watching and enjoying my content. Thank you for every like, every comment, every reply, every share, every notification bell, every subscription, every follow, every recommendation, every share, link you send to somebody. Thank you for that. Thank you for just looking at it. Even if you don't like touch any buttons on it, you just look at it and watch it for a few. Like, thank you. Thank you for like that interaction, even though I don't know about it. Like, thank you. Thank you for scrolling by, watching for a few seconds. Thank you. Follow me on X or Instagram at Nature's Epyon, at NaturesEpyon, EPYON, Nature's Epyon. Nature's Epyon. I'll get you one day. Catch it.